Update. My ex-boyfriend's family found out the truth about him last night, part 2. The color drained from his face faster than my phone's battery on TikTok. Seriously, my phone can't handle more than 20 minutes of scrolling before it dies. Anyone else? Before he could respond, the doorbell rang. Perfect timing. Tina went to answer it, and I heard her delighted. "Oh, Cody. What a surprise." Ryan looked like he might actually pass out. Cody walked in with a folder, looking all professional in his button-up shirt. He apologized for interrupting the birthday dinner, but said he had some work documents Ryan needed to sign urgently for Monday morning. Tina, being the perfect host, immediately invited him to join us later. Ryan tried to usher Cody toward the front door, but Ralph insisted they could handle work stuff right there at the table since we're all family here. Cody sat down in the empty chair beside me, which I'd strategically saved. NGL, Ryan was gripping his fork so hard I thought it might bend. That's when Ralph asked Cody how the big presentation went, the one Ryan had apparently been leading. Cody looked confused for a second before catching on. He glanced at me, then at Ryan, and I could see him making a decision. Cody said the presentation went well, but clarified that their boss had delivered it with Ryan and the team providing support. Ralph looked confused and said that wasn't how Ryan had described it. I jumped in, because I'm messy like that, and asked Cody about Ryan's promotion. Poor Cody looked so uncomfortable, caught between loyalty to a coworker and not wanting to lie to an entire family. He fidgeted with his napkin and said something vague about company restructuring. Ryan interrupted with a fake laugh and tried changing the subject to sports or whatever, but his sister wasn't having it. She asked Cody point blank what Ryan's current title was. The silence that followed was like that moment when you drop something in a public bathroom. Everyone hears it, but no one wants to acknowledge it. Cody looked at Ryan, who was silently pleading with his eyes, then at me. I nodded slightly. He cleared his throat and said that Ryan was an administrative assistant in the marketing department. The silence. Ralph put down his fork slowly. His grandma made this little H sound. Kayla muttered something that sounded suspiciously like, "I knew it." Ryan immediately went into damage control mode, saying Cody was confused, that he had multiple roles, that it was complicated. But the dam had broken. His family started asking specific questions that he couldn't weasel out of. When did you get promoted? He hadn't. Why did you say you had a team? He didn't. What about that corner office you mentioned? Also fictional. With each question, Ryan's stories unraveled more. He kept looking at me like this was somehow my fault, which made me more determined to let everything come out. Tina, bless her heart, tried to smooth things over. She suggested we all have some cake and talk about happier things. As she went to the kitchen to get it, Kayla asked me directly about the restaurant I'd mentioned earlier. This was my moment. I took a deep breath and told them everything. How Ryan had invited me to meet his friends, how he belittled me throughout dinner, how he dumped me in front of everyone and walked out, leaving me with a $347 bill I could barely afford. Ryan tried interrupting several times, but his dad shut him down with a look I'd never seen before. Pure disappointment. Ryan's defense? I was exaggerating and playing the victim, that I had embarrassed him in front of his colleagues by not fitting in, that leaving me with the bill was teaching me financial responsibility. His grandma actually snorted at that last one. Cody, who had been quiet through most of this, finally spoke up. He confirmed my story, adding that he'd heard Ryan bragging to coworkers about how he'd put me in my place. He even pulled out his phone and showed texts from Pablo. Receipts, y'all. Discussing what had happened. Tina came back in with the cake just as Ryan was trying to paint himself as the victim. She set it down and asked what she'd missed. No one spoke for a moment. Then Ryan's dad said very quietly that they needed to have a family discussion about honesty. Ryan exploded, full-on temper tantrum. He accused me of turning his family against him, called Cody a traitor, and said everyone was just jealous of his success. What success? He knocked over his water glass, pointed at me, and yelled that a girl like me should be grateful he even bothered with me. His mom gasped. His grandma said something that I'm pretty sure was old people swearing. His sister just shook her head like she wasn't even surprised. I stayed calm, somehow, and said that the only thing I was grateful for was finally seeing who he really was. Ryan stormed out, slamming the door so hard that one of Tina's decorative plates fell off the wall and cracked. The aftermath was weirdly peaceful. Tina apologized to me like 50 times. Ralph looked tired and sad. Kayla helped clean up the spilled water. Cody apologized for his part in the awkwardness, but said he couldn't stand by while Ryan lied to everyone. Then the strangest thing happened. Instead of asking me to leave, they insisted I stay for cake. We all sat there, Ryan's ex-girlfriend, his coworker, and his family, eating birthday cake without the birthday boy. In any other situation, it would have been the most awkward thing ever, but somehow it wasn't. After cake, I helped Tina clean up in the kitchen. She kept apologizing and saying she had no idea Ryan had been lying about so much. She seemed genuinely heartbroken, not just about what he'd done to me, but about who her son had become. I felt bad for her, TBH. No parent wants to realize their kid is, well, kind of terrible. She asked me quietly if there had been signs before, and I admitted that looking back, there were red flags I'd ignored because I wanted to believe the best about him. When I was getting ready to leave, Ryan's dad pulled me aside. He thanked me for my honesty and apologized for what his son had done. He seemed so defeated, like he was trying to figure out where they'd gone wrong in raising him. I assured him it wasn't their fault. Ryan had made his own choices. Cody offered to walk me to my car, probably sensing I needed a moment to process everything. As we walked down the driveway, he mentioned that Ryan had been having problems at work for months, taking credit for other people's ideas, lying about his contributions, even faking emails from clients. He was actually on his final warning before potential termination. Suddenly, Ryan's desperate need to appear successful made a twisted kind of sense. His whole identity was built on this fake image of success and status. When I thought about it that way, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I thanked Cody for backing me up and drove home in a weird state of emotional exhaustion mixed with relief. Like when you finally take off an uncomfortable bra at the end of the day. Sorry for the weird analogy, but y'all know what I mean. When I got home, I had 3 missed calls from Vanessa wanting updates.